News 10's Rondrell Moore is live at the federal prison. He is with Heather Good. They walk us through what has happened in the last hour. Guys?
Patrice, things are, as you can see, back to normal here at the Terre Haute Federal Penitentiary. But a little less than an hour and a half ago, it was the execution of Dustin Lee Honken. His time of death, 4:36 p.m. Now, News 10's Heather Good was the media witness from WTHI. She witnessed this execution. So, Heather, the third one this week that you've seen, let's walk through what you saw today.
Well, this one obviously went on without any legal impediments. It was on schedule by 4:03 p.m. Media witnesses were in the media room of the execution chamber awaiting that curtain to lift. By 4:06, the execution was starting.
So walk us through that process. What did you see once the execution process started?
Well, I'll tell you about his final moments. Dustin Honken chose to use his final moments to recite a poem. That poem is called Heaven Haven. We've got the quotes of that poem actually on my social media already if you'd like to go and read that. Then he went into a prayer. He said, "Hail Mary, full of grace." He went on to say, "Pray for me, I am a sinner," and ended by saying, "Mary, Mother of God, pray for me." At no point did he directly address anyone else. His eyes were mostly to the ceiling, and really he was not saying it in any way that would project as if he were speaking to someone. It very much, I got the impression that he was doing this for himself. This was a poem and a prayer for himself in his final moments.
Well, and that's very different than earlier this week. He wasn't really declaring his innocence or anything like that. He was basically speaking to himself.
Well, and I think it's very different than what we saw earlier in the week with the first two executions as well. Daniel Lee used his final moments to maintain his innocence. Wesley Perkey used his final moments to ask for forgiveness.
Well, that was one difference, and we talked about this earlier. You mentioned another difference, especially talking about the time of death.
Absolutely. So the first two executions, there's a speaker in the room. Someone will come on over that speaker and notify us that death has occurred and then give that time. Today, we noticed someone actually enter the room where the death row inmate was already there on the gurney. They took out a stethoscope and checked him before leaving the room and going into the other room where the medical team was. Then we got the announcement that death had occurred. So that was something that we had not seen in the first two executions.
Was anything else different, or did you see anyone else in the room with him?
So the spiritual advisor, who was a priest in this case, was in the far corner of the room. Again, all of these inmates are allowed a spiritual advisor. I did note that on Wednesday, the spiritual advisor for that execution, which Wednesday into Thursday, was in full PPE. So he had a gown, a mask, a face shield, and gloves. This spiritual advisor for this execution only had a face mask on. So that was another difference.
I know we don't have much time, and you're going to talk a little bit later about it more, but you've seen 3 executions this week. As a journalist, as a person, what's going through your mind right now?
You know, Rondrell, that's a difficult thing to answer. I think this week has been extremely difficult, especially with all of the delays. It was very exhausting. Right now, I'm still, I think, kind of numb to it all. But I'll be processing this, no doubt, through the weekend.
All right. Thank you very much. Good reporting all week. News 10's Heather Good, and we're going to hear more from her coming up tonight on My Fox 10 and also News 10 Night Watch.